Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, intruders and lurkers of all ages, welcome to the very first New Blood motherfucking podcast. We're starting it off just like that. I am Dave Oshray, and with me today we've got the Taffer King, Dylan Rogers. Say hi, Dylan.
Hello.
The Dusk Dev himself, the Chonk Money Man, David Samansky.
Hello.
We've got Zag Keen, the one and only Zaginator, Zigzagoon, the unfortunate spaceman himself. Zag.
Hey.
I think his name's actually Jeff, but nobody calls him that.
Nobody calls me that.
On the soundboard, we've got our own very own Baba Booey, Christian Antonio.
Wrong.
No. And we've got our very special guest, our good friend from id Software, Mark Tenacious Diaz.
What up?
We are going to drag Mark back in here when we talk about Doom, because the topic of this very first podcast is Doom. Because, listen, what else are we ever going to fucking talk about here at New Blood besides Doom? But first, let's talk about, what we've been working on. Here at New Blood, we actually make games. Besides, we don't just make Doom memes. Sometimes we actually make games. So what have we been working on? Shit, we should have talked about this beforehand. I have no idea. We've all just been playing Doom. And
Well, I've been
Alex.
working on Doom memes and
playing
Doom
Yeah,
and arguing about Doom.
Yeah.
And,
Definitely arguing about Doom.
Yeah,
there's been plenty of that.
I've
Yeah,
been working on my 100%, getting all those levels done.
yeah.
are
I've been
we
working
sure
on
we
the
make
master
games?
levels. I mean,
I feel we
think
might
so.
just play Doom, actually.
Yeah, so we've been working on, we just put out a pretty sweet update for Medieval. We added the Lost Falls, which was originally just a level for RTX that is now in the game. So if you even don't have an RTX card, you can go and play the Lost Falls and pretend it's a brand new level, because technically it is. We'll be adding RTX support to that relatively soon. In terms of Dusk, we added custom music to the SDK, so now you can play Half-Life maps in Dusk with Doom music. It's very stupid. It's very great. If you haven't checked out the Dusk SDK, please go download it. There's over 70 mods on duskmods.com. They're all extremely dumb, and we're going to keep updating the Dusk SDK as time goes on. And then also, obviously, we're working on Dusk on Switch. We got the first pass of the weapon wheel in today for you console nerds who need a weapon wheel to switch, just like David, who uses a weapon wheel in Doom on PC. For shame.
I do.
Learn how to quick swap, you pleb.
I do with the weapon wheel.
Yeah.
I'll be able to swap quicker whenever they fix the delay.
It's
No.
too slow, man. It's
Hint,
too slow.
hint.
Mark. And then Zag's been working with me on stuff at RocketWorks,
Yep.
that other company we work at. And we're trying to work on getting Unfortunate Spacemen out the door, making it free to play. Maybe we'll make Dusk World free to play at some point as well. But then I think what we've been showing you the most is Gloomwood, our game that we haven't officially revealed yet, but we've been showing and playing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We haven't even made a fucking trailer or revealed it yet. It's just kind of open development. It's whatever. We hate money. So yeah, Dylan, tell us about what you've been working on lately. We showed the game at PAX. We showed it on the Night Dive stream. I streamed it the other night and fucked up every encounter. What have you been working on? What's left to get done in the Gloomwood demo before we release it to the lurking, intruding fuckers that are listening to this podcast?
Well, we're mostly working on mostly just polishing the demo. We're just working on the hiding bodies and making sure that all works pretty well. I showed a little clip of throwing the body into a lake, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's so Deus Ex!" Like the body just flops into the water.
And also, apparently, you can throw them in toilets.
I dropped.
Yeah, might need to work on that a little bit.
I was dropping enemies down toilets last night.
Just stuffing them down a toilet.
I mean, does that need fixed? That's very on brand.
I don't
It's
think
very on brand.
They need to, when we throw them down there, they make the Andrew sound from a movie. No!
Yeah.
Yes.
Just, I agree. There always needs to be, I think, a little layer of stupid to our games.
Oh yeah,
because they are
definitely.
absolutely fucking video games. Speaking of stupid video games, we forgot to talk about Maximum Action, which
Oh, right.
which we updated a shitload as well. That new HUD is in, the garage level is in, quick swapping weapons is in. We don't have a weapon wheel in that game because you got to get good, David. And
You
we
don't have
added.
to swap between 9 different weapons in Maximum Action,
I
as
mean,
well as like half a dozen different equipment. There are not enough keys around WADs to bind to weapon selections in Doom Eternal.
1, 2, 3,
I
4,
have tiny
5,
fingers.
6, 7, 8, 9, Q, R, E, T, F, G.
Those are all taken.
You're right.
I've bound all the, and it's quicker to. Anyway, we'll talk about that when we get to Doom.
Oh, we're gonna talk about Doom for a long
We're
time.
gonna talk about a lot of Doom stuff, I assume.
I mean, that's why people are here. But yeah, Maximum Action, we just put out a huge update for, and we're adding more stuff. We're adding endless improvements. But yeah, the new HUD, the new level, and the quality of life changes in that game are just, it's really finally getting to a place where it's just, we just play it all the time because it's just such stupid fun. It's great. But yeah, so with Gloomwood, we've been, obviously one of the big inspirations we talk about, and yeah, we say thief a lot. We've got that stupid thief with guns URL, but there's a lot. It pulls from a lot of things, just the way I think Dusk pulls from. It doesn't pull from any one thing. Obviously, people compare Dusk a lot to Blood and Quake, but it pulls from so many games, including a lot of immersive simulations, which is why Dusk is very imsimmy. You could pick up,
Yes.
you could pick up, you could pick up, jibs and roast them on a fire, and then eat them, and then quaff a beer, and then throw the beer at the wall, and the bottle will break, and then it's very imsimmy, which I think adds a ton to the atmosphere. And Gloomwood, of course, has that too. I was actually I gave Hakita, the Ultra Kill guy, Gloomwood to test last night. And the first thing he did, we changed the tutorial so you have to go get the cane sword now at another part, instead of just pulling it through the board so you can knock the boards out. And he goes, "Oh, I didn't find the cane sword. I just picked up a box and threw it at the boards, and the boards broke, and I skipped the whole tutorial about that." And I was like, "Well, shit."
Yep.
Yeah, he's like, "I used some ImSim magic," and I'm like, "That's great. That's the kind of thing. Immersive simulations, I think, are at their best when you look at something and you go, I wonder if I could do this. If I pick this up and I do that, will that work? And then it works, and you go, aha! And it makes you feel like such a genius. Yesterday, when I was testing Gloomwood, I realized that glass bottles can break boards. So I was just throwing bottles at boards to break them and going, it's just fun. Dylan, how much of that is just systems that happen because they happen, and how much of that is intentional? I really want this to happen.
Well, I think the crates and stuff like that were like static until a couple of builds ago, and then I was like to David, oh, we really should try and get as much interactive stuff into the map as possible, so like people
Well, I
can
think the
really mess
crates.
around with stuff.
Well,
Oh, the
the
crates.
crates were always. It was the barrels that were
Yeah, the
stacked.
barrels. So we've been
Rest in
trying
peace,
to
baked barrel lighting.
yeah. We've been trying to get as much stuff as like, oh yeah, you can totally like throw this and break this or stack this, and just all the different ways that people can mess around the map, break windows, climb through like the second floor of a building, that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff.
You know, and I think the more we show, it's going to be, obviously Thief's a big inspiration, but there's a lot of Deus Ex in there. There's a lot of Resident Evil in there. There's a lot of System Shock in there. And I think the more we show and the more that the systems interact, it's fun. Every time I play through our demo, which is only about a 30-40 minute demo, Hakita got through it in 40 minutes last night. Which I think is about the time we were shooting for, especially now with the expanded sewer section. Dylan's expanded the sewers again. Someone tell Civi sewer level. We need some Civi soundboard for the next ones, Chris. It's really, I play it, I think, a different way every time. Or I try to every time I go to like the sewers or the jail. I'm like, let me try doing it this way, or let me try doing it this way. And sometimes I fuck it up, and sometimes I don't. But there's a lot of ways to handle the encounters already, and I think that at its core is what MSIMs are all about. Stuff like Deus Ex, just being like, there's always more than 2, 3 ways to go about something, and seeing the systems interact and silly shit happening, or being like, aha, that worked, is really when it gets that little dopamine release in your brain, and you're like, I like this. I'm having good time. And I think it adds to the replayability. Is there anything that it pulls from that you don't think people would expect? Obviously there's the main ones. We say Thief and Deus Ex and System Shock and Resident Evil. Is there anything in there that maybe people aren't aware of?
Well, kind of like
Yes.
David, I pull from a lot of different places. So, I've talked a little bit in the past about how it kind of pulls from Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth,
Ah, there we
which is
go.
a really kind of like janky, unknown kind of first-person
Unknown.
puzzle.
It's not.
It's the best jank.
Okay.
I would
Yeah,
say it.
it's
I would
janky.
consider it a cult classic. I mean, you say Call
Yeah,
of Cthulhu,
yeah,
Dark Corners of the Earth. I mean, a lot of it, people know it. I think it's right up there with Vampires Masquerade.
yeah. That sounds about right.
Same kind of fan base. Okay, that's interesting. That's a good one. What do you think? What would you say
Um,
it pulls from there?
So a couple of the like first person interactive things there, like the limping in Gloomwood came from there essentially. Like
Interesting.
when you get damaged in that game, you start like limping because your like legs broken and all that. And I really
It
liked
has
that
the worst
mechanic.
noise.
It's so bad. I know
It's
Gloomwood doesn't
the
have that yet. The
no,
like
it is
Yeah.
the most like aurally painful broken bone noise on every other step
Oh
when you
God.
you're
break a
just
leg.
like walking and it's just like like
Oh my
it's so
gosh.
bad. Yeah, so I pull from there. I
Don't
love
forget
Bloodborne, so
Condemned.
of course, yes, I
Bloodborne.
yeah,
You and
yeah. I mean,
you
like,
and Hugo should hang out.
yeah, I mean, Bloodborne's pretty great.
Mm,
Yes, and I pulled from Condemned. I posted
of
it the
course.
other day too, like the ammo checking where you open your guns and you actually physically see the
That's
shell
very
or
condemned.
or
Yeah.
the bullets inside of it to
Yeah.
count it. Yeah.
It's
That's what I'm.
actually more so Condemned because apparently originally in Condemned they were going to have it where you had to literally count the bullets yourself, but then in the shipped game they have when you check it, it's just an animation and then your ammo display comes up. But what we're doing it the way where you have to literally visually count them. And so
Yeah.
when you're using like the shotgun that has a tube magazine, you can't count them. You can only see I have one in the magazine ready to come up and I have one in the chamber and you don't know how
Uh,
many other ones are in the
Yeah,
in
which
the
I think is cool.
tube.
Which is which
Yeah.
is especially well with the Burgess. You'll know if you have at least I think three, right? Because it has two, and then you could fit three in the bottom.
I believe it's
You
one in the top and four in the
The-
bottom.
You have
my
a
God,
single fact to back that up.
yeah, the Burgess folding shotgun I think is going to be one of the it's first of all it's super fucking cool, right? And at the end of the
yeah.
day it's cool. And if people get confused like I don't understand how it works, well it exists. It existed then. It's really cool. There's YouTube videos on it. I love it. And I love the fact that listen, that's what you have. Listen, if we wanted to give you a shotgun where you could see how many shells you had all the time, that fuck it, you're not going to have it that easy. You
Yeah.
should know, and if you could, you should be able to keep count pretty well. And I think one of the big things about Gloomwood is not so much a sneaky stabby as it is a survival horror. Like, and especially on harder levels, and it's very Resident Evil. You will only have so many times you can save. You will only have so much ammo. You will not know what's around the next corner, and you will very much be like, okay, I'm trying to conserve my ammo. I have this many shots. I'm pretty sure there's this many guys. I need to think. I need to think on my toes, and that's where also the other ImSim stuff comes in. So it'll be cool to see how that all interacts as we build the districts and build new enemies, and add new techniques for getting around them. And it's all coming together really really well. Everybody so far has said it's like the most polished thing we've ever done, and I'm like, yeah, I agree. It's really really polished
It's
already.
definitely the most polished demo we've ever released.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, well, we've gotten so insane with the quality of our stuff, which is fine. It's that we could have put this out forever ago, but we just, we've set the bar pretty high with our releases, and we want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
And it's just watching fun. I'm still discovering fun new stuff. Like last night, I realized that barrels float when I was throwing stuff in the water, and then I
Yeah.
used a barrel as like a lily pad to jump across, so I didn't get wet, even though it wouldn't have mattered. But it was just so cool to throw a barrel in the water and use that as a jump pad to get across to the other side of the canal. And I was like, that's an immersive sim right there.
Should we
Um,
make getting wet matter? Maybe your
yeah,
footsteps are sloshy so they
Just
make more
sloshy
noise.
footsteps.
and they
Yeah.
It
see,
jams your guns and stuff. No.
oh my
Oh
god,
gosh.
and
Yeah.
they see your footsteps and they go, mm.
Oh yeah, and then
boy.
they can track
Oh
your
boy.
footsteps. This
Oh,
is
that were
this is how feature creep happens, kids.
yeah, we're getting way too deep into it. Oh my god, I
Yes.
remember once upon a time in Rise of the Triad development.
Oh
Um,
boy.
Fred wanted it so when there was blood on your screen, you could wipe your face.
Oh man.
And wipe the blood off your face. And I think it was Nick Quackenbush, one of our 3D artists, just yelled, "Feature creep!" into the meeting. And I was like, yeah, let's not do that. But it's shit like that. It does sound pretty cool. I don't know.
I
I'm
think
liking
they
those
had that in Metro.
footsteps. Yeah, oh, in Metro they have it. But in Metro it makes a lot of sense, which is funny because we could talk about Metro for years, especially because I love Metro. And David,
Same.
who everybody thinks who would love Metro, doesn't like Metro because
Yeah, it's weird.
because Stalker is very open, and
Interesting.
David loves Stalker, and then Metro is very linear and scripted. Even though all the systems are amazing, it's so
Yeah,
if
they
you
are.
love
And
the
the
open,
atmosphere is incredible.
yeah, and especially I've been playing Exodus, and I'm really liking Exodus because it's got the second part of it. The first 2 hours is the most linear scripted hand holding shit you will ever you will quit. You will not get through it, David. You'll be like, "Rah, I hate this," but then but it opens up. And then it opens up
Uh-huh.
into what is essentially like mini Stalker COP, which was the one that had the boat in the middle and then everything's around it.
Call of Pripyat, yeah.
Yeah, COP. And then it feels like that, where you just have a map with a bunch of stuff on it and you go back and forth between things and story beats happen between there. And it's real. It's fucking, it's really good.
See, that
But
sounds cool, but then everyone tells me that
Sa-
only
that-
lasts for a few hours, and then
that's what
it's
I've heard as
terrible
well.
after that.
And yeah, so I think it goes. I think that's the open part, and then it goes back to the more scripted stuff as you get towards the end.
Yeah.
I think they
Yeah,
alternated
to be
levels.
clear, it's not the linearity that bugs me, it's the scripted, like just how super over scripted 2033 is, especially.
Yeah, and it's very. I mean, it's super well produced. I mean, and I think what
It
carries
is,
it.
yeah.
I think what carries it through is the story and the writing. At least
Well,
for
and
me.
and like the atmosphere and stuff, because
Yeah.
I will,
Yeah, it's the
I will rave
atmosphere.
about that atmosphere for
Oh,
days. It's incredible.
and as far as immersion and stuff like that, like the stuff with the backpack and all the stuff that we've looked at
Yeah,
for
that's
Gloomwood,
all very cool
I've
too.
shown videos and stuff, and I'm like, let's do this for Gloomwood with the backpack.
awesome.
It's no Metros. I want to get through Exodus. I've got my RTX on. I've got it locked at 30 frames per second, so I can keep it at ultra. Oh baby. Um, but yeah,
Don't let the engine team hear you say
we
that.
could have. I think we're gonna have to. I think what we're gonna do with these podcasts is just center them around a different game franchise that we love and that people like us for, and they like watching us talk about. So I think there's definitely gonna have to be a Stalker Metro podcast.
Yeah,
Just
that would
like
be
there's
a
gonna
fun
have.
to
Yeah,
do.
just like there's gonna have to be a Half-Life podcast, but this is the Doom podcast,
This is
and
the
that
Doom
sounds like
podcast.
a good way to segue into our big topic, and we'll drag Mark in here from our buddy from id Software,
What up?
and we're gonna ask him a bunch of stuff that he's not allowed to answer.
Yeah, I'm
And
ready.
we're gonna talk about Doom. We're gonna talk about all the Dooms. We're gonna talk about Doom 1, Doom 2, Doom 3, Doom 64, Doom on PlayStation. We're gonna talk about Aubrey Hodges. We're gonna talk about
Yes.
we're going to talk about Bobby Prince. We're going to talk about John Carmack. We're going to talk about the Romeros. We're going to talk about Sigil. Just kidding. And then, of course, we're gonna talk about
Dave and
Doom.
I screaming at each other for 2 hours about
I,
Sigil.
I mean, actually,
Sigil's
playing.
so good.
Yeah, I think. Well, after playing Doom 64, I was like, how did John not work on this? Because it's
Right,
it's
Doom
got
64 is
such
evil.
evil traps. It's so good.
Sigilly. And listen, I get that there's people who like that kind of Doom, but we're getting off topic. We'll get to it. This podcast
Yes.
is going to go on for like 10 hours as we yell and scream
I know.
about Doom and Romero design versus fucking other designs. I mean, and we should get Tim Willits in here who invented Deathmatch.
Oh gosh.
We should get Tim on a podcast. Tim's a nice man. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about Doom, and then of course Doom Eternal, which we all love. I wish we had someone in
Yes.
here. The problem is we don't have anyone in here who doesn't like Doom Eternal, but we know a lot of people who don't like Doom Eternal. The problem is we're all incredible, awesome, smart people, and therefore we love Doom Eternal. And the people who don't like Doom Eternal are wrong.
Wrong.
That's right. That's right. People who don't like Doom Eternal. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, I've talked to a lot of people about it, and my best friend and one of my Aaron here didn't like it. He agreed the giant bomb dudes weren't really into it, and I think at the core of that, what I was saying is you're not going to please everybody. And I think if they just did more of 2016, it would have just been more of 2016. I don't think it would have reviewed as well. Definitely would have sold as well. And what they did here is they went all in and they appealed to a broader range of people as well as appealing. And they lost some people in the process. They lost some of the purists. But I mean, I think if you look at both the reviews, the critical reviews, and then the user reviews, they're both higher. And sales, I've heard, are at least triple what 2016 was. And I've seen what I thought was very telling is I saw people who would never touch a Doom game. Streamers and content creators who would never touch Doom 1 through 3, who would never play 2016, are playing Doom Eternal and they're fucking loving it. These are people who play like Bloodborne and shit. And they're talking about how they love it, how they love the combat, how they love stuff like the Marauder, how they love the story, even though they don't know anything about Doom. How basically, Mark, you guys, and obviously Hugo and Chad, who wrote the story and directed it, and Marty and everybody, basically made Doom for a mainstream audience and managed to knock it out of the park, essentially, what it seems.
For sure. I think we
And
struck a
bring,
balance.
I mean, about as good as you can do.
Yeah.
You basically, you went all in. You like tried to make a Doom for more than just Doom players. Which where I don't think you could have done that in
But
2016. I think in
yeah,
2016 you needed to do like this is the reboot. We're gonna try to keep it as, as straight and play it as straight as we can. Just make it rip and tear, shoot, shoot, shoot. And if you just did more of that, I don't think it would have hit as hard as Doom Eternal's hitting right now.
here's the
That's
thing
why
though. I
I
think it's
I think so.
actually like in some ways it's actually more of a classic Doom game
yeah.
than like I like it way more than I liked 2016
Same.
as a huge classic Doom fan.
Yeah. Wait. I'm seeing people's faces light up, so I'll let you go one at a time. Dylan, what you were gonna say?
I was just gonna say that I really appreciate it because it doesn't feel like a safe sequel. It really does feel
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, we made 2016 and we wanna push things in a direction that's
Mhm.
going to it's going to really encourage the player to move out of their comfort zone and really start exploring different strategies. And I really I it could have been safe. It's so easy to imagine a situation where it's
Mhm.
just like more of 2016, and the fact that they didn't do that and they went for this kind of risky design is awesome.
Yeah, and I think it was
Hmm.
ballsy because I had my reservations. Like even up until a few weeks ago, I played it at QuakeCon and I didn't like it. And I was very open. I told Mark, I told you, I told Marty, I told Hugo, I told Colin, I told anybody who would listen, basically, because I'm not one of those people who's just gonna kiss ass of developers I'm friends with because I want my friends' games and I want their games to be as good as possible. And I remember basically telling everyone like I was not into it. Not only was I getting my ass kicked, I wasn't getting into the combat flow. I was not feeling the whole flow between, doing what to whom and using the grenades and the flame belch and the chainsaw, things that people are kind of complaining about now. Well, some people, and we'll get to that. But I was like, this is not flowing for me. And I had people reassure me that like, no, we're gonna ease you into it more and stuff like that. But I think that was about the time when you guys, I mean, because from what I heard, it used to be even more combat puzzle, balls to the wall hard back last year. And that's when you guys kind of decided we need more time to refine this. Is that true, Mark?
Yeah, it actually there was a point, and 2016 was kind of like this too, where, um, when we added in the new mechanics like dashing and the meat hook and stuff like that, and we kind of had the AI working. There hadn't been massive changes to the AI coming from 2016, where I think it got a. I mean, this is me personally. I'm not involved in the creative side of the game
Hmm.
as much, but it felt like, I mean, pretty easy. Like you were destroying shit, like
Yeah.
dashing, meat hooking around. So, we tweaked the AI behaviors, and then it got super fucking hard.
Yeah.
And which to me felt like we were going in the right direction because 2016, our vertical slice for 2016 was fucking insanely hard. I remember I must have fought the Cyber Demon. Like we had the Cyber Demon was the kind of the first boss we did in 2016, and he was. I seriously think I fought him 20 sometimes before I finally beat him. It was
Wow.
really really hard, and that's kind of like where I cut my teeth as a developer is on Doom 2016 because it was the first project I ever worked on professionally. So that game ended up coming out and doing really well, and it, like I grew a ton of confidence in everyone in the team because I was playing the game and I was like, this is really hard. I hope it turns out good. And then we shipped and it was great. So around the point that Eternal became really, really hard and really challenging, I was like, all right, here we are again. Like
Mhm.
we've gotten it. I think in game development, in my experience, when you take something, it's a lot easier to make something challenging and then scale it back than it is to make something too easy and make it challenging to the point where it's fun.
I
So
agree.
that's
Yeah,
where
I
I
found
kind of
that a
got it.
lot when we were working on a medieval. And anybody who knows me and our development stuff, I test all of our games on medium. And I consider anything harder, anything easier up to the player. And I test all our games on medium pistol start, which is, in a medieval, that's axe start, and in dusk, it's sickle start, right? And that's as we were going through, that's how I test all of our levels. And with dusk, it's a different story, but with a medieval, Leon likes shit hard, right? And there was a lot of when we were going through a medieval where it was just kind of felt like fuck you hard. And I'm like, this is not medium. We have the difficulties to scale up and scale down, but I think on medium and with games like the ones we make, it's a lot about availability of ammo and health and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of stuff it can just be solved with putting stuff in the level. You put a few more ammo pickups, you put a few more health and mana pickups, a few more armor pickups, and suddenly the encounters become manageable, right? What once was hard isn't. So scaling back like you said, is really easy. With Doom Eternal, it's not just about that because now you've got all these mechanics of what the enemies drop, and having to manage that with also what you put in the encounters, and then base it on difficulties, and then have each enemy have different weak points and different weapons with different amount of damage. It sounds fucking impossible to design this kind of combat chess. And the fact that you guys have got it to where it is, where we've got people that are complaining. We argue with them on Twitter, but it's a vocal minority. You look at the reviews, you look at the things. It's not like the Sekiro argument, which was like, that was an argument. That was like the whole world
Yeah.
arguing about game difficulty. Doom Eternal, and I think one of the biggest reasons why it's blowing up as much as it is, same where I think Dusk is the biggest, the most popular of the retro shooters, is because it's the most accessible. It's not like, sure, it's got Sekiro. You can turn it up where it feels like Sekiro fuck you hard, but you can also dial it down. And I think it's still accessible. You give the player all the tools, and it's as accessible as you want it to be. I think anybody can get through it. Not anybody can get through Sekiro. I think anybody can beat Doom Eternal if
Yeah.
they try hard enough. Same
I
as with
really
Dusk.
love that about our game because it's like on the surface, it's a game that maybe like I said, kind of seems like one of those games that would be like Sekiro or something. Like
Mhm.
this is going to be too hard for me or inaccessible, but then like we just did like below that is just the rest of the iceberg where there's just
Yeah.
a ton of accessibility options like the Sentinel armor, the one ups,
Yep.
Oh, I
I never used
appreciate
that.
this. Yeah, I didn't either, but I really appreciate that Sentinel armor exists because I know
Yeah.
that's exactly for people like me because I almost always hate boss battles.
Yeah, so,
I actually found some of the boss battles were a bit of a slog compared to the rest of the action. So when I got that option after my like third death, I was like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah,
we'll just finish this and get on with the game.
when
And
I
it was
got
nice.
to,
Mhm.
and there will be spoilers in this podcast. Sorry, when I got to the con maker, I had been drinking that night. I do not remember playing. I do not remember playing that level. I do not remember getting to that. I think I got to the final sin, and I was like, I'm not going to beat this tonight. I do not remember playing. Was it Urdak?
Yeah, Urdak.
Is that heaven or
Oh, that's
whatever
a
it is?
shame because
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll play it.
Urdak is-
That's
Like
a great
You
level.
tweeted about it.
I tweeted screenshots, but I don't like. Trying to remember back that level. I'm like, I don't remember too much. I had a bunch of whiskey that night and playing Doom. I was having a
has
good
some
time.
of the coolest music in the game.
Oh
yeah, the music was
Yeah.
great.
Oh, yeah.
But
really
by the time,
really
but by the
different.
time I got to the Codmaker fight, I was like, I was not having a good time. And then the Sentinel armor activated, and I was like, yeah, I could do this. And I beat
Yeah.
it like that. I'm definitely gonna. Well, I'm going back and playing through on ultra violence anyway. I play through on Hurt Me Plenty. No shame in playing. Like I say, I play games on medium, and I think for me, intended way where I think it's the same as Dusk. I like playing through on Hurt Me Plenty, and then having everything unlocked, and then going back and playing on ultra violence because it feels right to me. Some people like to play on UV from the start. Some people like to play even lower. But for me, I've always
or
played.
higher.
Yeah, or higher.
Like
Yes.
some people who
Or
started
higher.
at
I've-
Insanity.
Ooh.
So then
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've always played Doom games on Hurt Me Plenty, and then I've always gone back through and once I learn playing them on the harder difficulties. That's what feels good to me, right? That's for my skill set and stuff. I'm a medium rare player. A little more towards the medium. I like the burned edges of the steak. Okay, so we're talking about steak cast. But yeah, so I think you guys did a really good job. However, there are people on the internet who think you guys did a terrible job of
Yeah.
designing that game. Poor game design. How could you make people press buttons to do things
Wrong.
in a video game? And I think it is a vocal minority, but I think it's something that bears discussion because there's
Yeah.
you can't just kick them aside and be like, "Ah, you're wrong." Even though I think what I've seen, especially I look at Steam reviews a lot because I'm obsessed with Steam reviews. And all they're super high. I think you're at 91, 92% now, and then the Metacritic's at 90 or whatever. There's things in the game that I found. There was a difficulty spikes and then the lack thereof. And I think especially when you play through the first time, the first couple of levels, when you don't have things unlocked, when you do have to play things an exact certain way, by the end of the game or through a second playthrough, I don't give a shit about arachnotrons. I can handle them, 10 different ways. But
Oh, the
the
first one.
the first one,
That first one, yeah.
the first one, or then the second one, when you're in the purple goo and you have to fight him, and you don't really have the dash and shit like that yet, it's like you have to play the game this way. And I kind of agree there because, like, because people are like, you don't have any ammo in this game, and I'm like, halfway through the game's like a fucking loot pinata, right? Everything gives you everything.
So I struggled with that. At the first level or so, I was like, I have like 6 rounds in the shotgun or something, and
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm constantly out. And then I realized, oh, I'm supposed to actually read what's on
Yeah.
the screen. The chainsaw does stuff.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah, the
believe how many
chainsaws.
people don't know that.
Well,
Like
Yeah.
it literally
not only-
pops up a giant tutorial. It's
Not-
like use the chainsaw.
Not
Yeah.
only that, but a lot of people didn't know that it regenerates. Like even Scott
Yeah.
didn't know it regenerates until like
Yeah.
90% through the game.
Yeah,
It's
and I
definitely
think
designed totally different in this game. Like I saved my chainsaw a lot in 2016,
Yeah,
and
same.
like I rarely used it. I think, but
Yeah, same.
like, and there was a point where when they were designing the game and doing play tests and stuff, where like the light bulb moment where I figured out that I can use the chainsaw a lot more liberally in this game. It was liberating. It was like it didn't feel like that because I'm always kind of bummed out whenever I'm hoarding potions and I get to the final boss and I beat the game and
Exactly.
I have a million fucking Phoenix Downs that I never used.
Yep,
Right.
and everybody does it. 72 ultra elixirs. I'm never
Yeah.
gonna die,
So it's
but
like,
then
it
you
was
only use like
awesome.
3 of them. Everybody does that, and I like the fact that
Hell
Doom
yeah.
Eternal makes you use everything. I
Right.
would agree though that early game does really kind of gimp you a bit, especially I was playing. That's when I knocked it down to hurt me plenty. Was the first like actual little arena encounter you get, and I'd say it's the one before you get to the heavy cannon in
Oh,
Hell
yeah.
on Earth, because that's the first time you get it's a real arena there.
Yeah, the arachnotron. That's the
yeah,
first fight with the arachnotron.
and you're like, shit, I have no ammo, I have no ammo, I have no ammo. And I would agree with people there. However, once you start upgrading, it becomes pretty inconsequential. So,
Yeah.
but I would agree that, and I feel bad for the people that turned the game off after that, or got too frustrated there, or thought that was like a get good moment. I would agree that I felt there was a bit maybe unfair in terms of early game, especially since only if you play for another hour or so, you'll be upgraded enough where that's not a thing anymore. But I think the game is balanced around the whole game. But I would agree, but I feel bad for those people that and I kind of kick them aside where I'm like, listen, just play the game for a little while longer, upgrade some shit, you'll be fine.
It's a really tight line to walk because that was like, there were a lot of talks around like sort of whether that was or not intentionally, like
Mhm.
frustration points into the game where we
Mhm.
kind of it's like a built-in frustration point because
Yeah.
it's a little bit like you get a lot of reward once you figure those parts out.
Yeah.
Like the
I
reward.
think
Also,
it's
isn't
teaching the
that-
player, right? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that's
take it,
exactly
like
what
if
I
you
was
don't
gonna
take out
say.
the gun on the arachnotrons, right? They absolutely wreck you. And then the
Yeah,
second you
right.
do, it's like light bulb moment. There's a lot of those in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
totally.
discover something and the whole game starts unlocking in your brain. oh, I can do
Yeah.
this, I can do this.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it feels like the difficulty level in Doom Eternal has been moved one level up from Doom 2016.
Oh, for
So,
sure.
for example, yeah, I played on Nightmare in Doom 2016, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm ready for like Nightmare in Doom Eternal, and it's like, no, like Ultraviolent feels really hard here now.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. 2016, I remember I don't think I ever died really, unless I was doing something really stupid. And I think that's what a lot of people who complain, the ones that do, they miss just being able to do whatever the fuck you want, whenever the fuck you want, with any gun, and just get through the game. And I think that's fine and that's fun, but that is less gamey of a video game than you can design if you really want to design a game.
Yeah.
And games are puzzles. Chess is the ultimate game, and I think what you guys have really managed to do. Listen, it's you're never going to please everyone, but the balance you managed to strike at the levels that I like to play at, which has hurt me plenty, and then ultra violence, I feel are really good once you unlock the tools. I would, there's, and I've got friends who I said just they like 2016 better, and I'm like, I get that. If you just want to, if you're the kind of person who just I think those are the same kind of people who play GZ Doom, which is a whole bunch of shit involved, and just want to just run around, fucking, SSGing everything and getting through. And I can appreciate that, but I think they're doing themselves a disservice because once, and like I like to say, I think Doom Eternal is a totally different game once you unlock everything, right? And you've got these people who didn't get through the game, which bugs me. Those people that are arguing, some of the people that are the loudest arguing about the game turned it off after an hour or two and like said, "Oh, the design is garbage because it does this, that, or the other thing." Without getting through the game, without using all the tools that the game gives you, the thing that you have to do in a game like Doom Eternal, which I think we did the same in Dusk, is have to keep introducing new things to keep the game fresh all the way through the game. With Dusk, it was things we did with levels, because we weren't adding, weapons and mechanics and stuff besides some power ups. We were just making the levels kind of weirder and crazier. So by the time you got to E3M7, we're like, I don't know, what if you could just fucking fly? Because we were just running out of shit. But we kept it fresh all the way through to the twist at the end and in the end, and I think that's why so many people get through it, why people connect to it so well.
For sure.
And I think Doom Eternal, what you did was manage to just keep the combat fresh all the way
and
through.
that was like
every level.
one of the biggest criticisms of 2016 that I think they really took to heart was the the last third of the game definitely. There wasn't much new introduced in it, and it got
what it needed? Swimming puzzles, underwater toxic swimming puzzles was what it needed.
So hold on now, I have something irrelevant to add to that because there was swimming in 2016 at one point.
Oh my god, really?
Seriously?
Foundry, or not Foundry. It was Surface had like a section of the level that was it was underwater. The room where you first meet the summoner, there was a water puzzle in that room, and I remember like because that was one of the first levels that we had kind of art complete at that point, and I was like, man, this swimming is really awesome. I was like, I really hope we keep this. Yeah,
it's all your fault.
Yeah, we're just gonna blame Mark.
It sounded great. I mean, it really felt like, I just remember being like, this really feels like swimming. This is awesome. It was before I really.
It really feels like swimming.
Yeah, I mean, that was 2016. Eternal. Totally different, but I remember really liking it.
Well, so if you kept it, then people would have been used to it. See, and then it wouldn't have been a problem.
Potentially.
I mean, listen, the swimming sections and the turtle were short and easy.
Yeah, they're like 5 seconds.
I was just like, really, you're gonna introduce fucking swimming sections like 80% of the way through the game?
Dude, I really hope nobody takes this out of context and is like, Doom developer says that the swimming just felt like swimming, so they put it in the game. Like,
it just felt like
I was talking about
swimming's the best part of the game, says Doom developer.
All right, I'm writing Kotaku right now.
No. Oh fuck.
But yeah, no, it's like, but stuff like that. But still, you kept it fresh. It was something new. And I think we've all laid plenty of praise on it. We've kind of discussed what people who and I'll put aside people who say, oh my god, the game pops up giant tutorials for you. I mean, you could turn them the fuck off, and I appreciate them because the first time I played through the game, I'm like, oh, this is how you do this, that, and the other thing. Maybe not the icon of sin. I'm not sure if the final boss needed a pop up saying
it was weird.
How you kill the final boss.
It was a bit weird seeing the screenshot in the tip, and he's in like a gray box room, and you're just like,
yeah.
I
think I could have figured it out.
It's funny that everyone like memes on that because I turned the tutorials off right at the beginning, so I
same.
never saw like any of this stuff.
No, it
Yeah.
pops them up for everything, which is
I
funny
think we
because
were
go
erring
ahead.
on the side of accessibility. We're just kind of
Exactly, and
erring
which
on
I
the side
think
of
is absolutely what you need to do. Options. When I say this, when we're working on the games we're working on, options. Make it an option. If you're arguing about whether something should or not be off, make it an option. Let people turn it on or off. Make it an option. In Dusk, we have so many options. In some of the games we're working on, it's important.
oh yeah,
Not only
yeah.
for accessibility, but just for letting people play the way they want. Whereas a game like Sekiro or Bloodborne would never fucking do that. It would just get good, motherfucker.
See,
Which
it's
I
weird because everyone like complains about that, and they're like, "Oh man, but what about accessibility?" And then when Eternal has, accessibility tutorials, everyone's like, all the Twitter devs
It,
are like,
it
"This
must
is
be
bad
different.
design."
You
It
know
must be
why,
different
David?
people,
You
right?
can't win. You
yeah.
can't win.
I
That's
know.
the thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
you
got to be
can't.
different people, right? Like, it's the people who don't like Doom Eternal pop-ups must also want Sekiro to stay hard, right?
I don't
No,
know.
that's the
You don't think
weird.
so?
By a huge margin, the people I've seen complaining about
We should
Eternal
do a
are
fucking.
indie devs.
We should do a Venn
Interesting.
diagram of to go back into the ones who complained about Sekiro not being accessible, the ones complaining about Doom Eternal having those too many tutorials, and see who's in the middle there, and then just shame, shame, shame.
Shame.
Yeah, the shame, bro.
Shame.
Oh god, let's talk about the last season of Game of Thrones. Let's
Oh,
not.
gosh.
No,
Let's not.
no
But
thanks.
yeah, so but we've we'll get to stuff like the Marauder in a second too. But we've leveled heaps of praise on because we're all Doom Eternal levels lovers, and like I said, most people are 90% plus, and both users and critics, and that 10% who don't, I think it's 5% people who are just d- being idiots, and then another 5% who just like something else, which is fine. I don't
Right,
I
which
don't
is
I don't
fine.
I don't mind people. Like my buddy Aaron came over yesterday and he was just like, I just like 2016 better. I like the way it does things better. And he also just really didn't, he wasn't into the lore. He was like, I
Mhm.
just miss it when it was just rip and tear. I don't want, him to have like a house where he's got guitars and toys and stuff like that. It just feels dumb to me. And I was like, I get it. If you don't like that, that's fine. I think
I
it's
mean, it
fucking
is
great.
dumb. It's
It
great.
is dumb. And I think if I was going to write a Doom Eternal review, the thing I would say at the end is above all, Doom Eternal never forgets that it's a fucking video game. It is so video
Mhm.
gamey.
So
And
self-aware.
he was also
Yes.
saying like the platforming and stuff is fun, but like you get to that one part in hell where it's literally Bowser's fucking castle with
Yeah.
with giant
Yeah.
fire things going around and
The
chains and stuff. And
fire-
I'm
See,
like,
I actually
Fire
enjoyed those.
sticks,
I was
yeah.
like,
I
it's a
thought
nice, it's a
thought-
nice break from the combat, like doing
I
something a
thought
little
I
different.
loved
yeah,
them. Yeah.
I thought it was great. I love the platforming. We've got some
That's
guys like
kind of like
Gilby.
the wink and the nudge,
Yeah, I
that you
think
get.
Yeah.
totally. It's a video game, and I think the
Yeah.
fact that you can play it so straight and so serious, but also make it so silly, I think it's great, and I think most people appreciate that. But we should, I mean, there should be something. There's still some things that like we're nitpicking. I think let's all talk about some things that we don't like about Doom Eternal, or some things that we thought it could do better. For me, once I got through, and I love the pacing. But as I got to the end, I was like, I really miss more smaller encounters. Doom Eternal is very much big arena, or then linear path with lore and some secrets, and then big arena, and then platforming, and then linear path with lore and some secrets. In the original Doom games, it was kind of like the whole level was an encounter. Every corner
Yeah.
you turned around, there was something to fight, something to do, and the secrets were balls hard. You had the hump walls. Whereas now, especially I think in 2016, the secrets were really hard to find. In Doom Eternal, the map's like, here's everything, here's where you're gonna fight stuff, here's the secrets, and they're like, I was 100%ing the levels as I went through, and I kind of appreciated that because in 2016, I had to go back and use YouTube guides to find all the secrets in the levels, and I liked the classic levels too. I kind of missed that. It was just fun to see. They weren't like super fun to play through, but it was fun to find those classic levels. I just love the old textures and stuff. So for
It's
me, was go ahead.
it's really fun going from Eternal to Doom 64, which hides its
Oh my
secrets like
god.
just
Oh man,
so
yeah.
maliciously.
We'll get to Doom 60.
Yeah.
But
So Dave,
for,
what do you remember a roundabout specifically where you felt that started to happen?
where would I miss the smaller encounters where I just realized it wasn't
Yeah.
a thing? Well, so like
Yeah.
I never minded the pacing, especially because I'm the guy. So I'm the guy who stops and reads every bit of lore and gets every secret as I'm going through the levels. You went back
Yes.
and did that. You blasted through, which is funny because you'd think we'd be the opposite. People have very big misconceptions about how I play games and how David plays games.
Yeah.
But I'm the guy, I'm the guy who loves, old school, isometric RPGs, and he's the guy who likes walking sims and stuff. But so I love the pacing. I love having the big arenas, but there was a few times towards the end where there'd be smaller encounters with like 3, 4, 5 demons, and I'm like, man, I would like more of these instead of just the giant arena fights.
Because I'm thinking about
I like
levels
to
like Arc Complex,
Mhm.
where most of Arc Complex honestly is small encounters. Like most of that level is you blazing through these hallways, and there's like a couple arena set pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was I think I would like more of that basically. But I know
I
it's
don't
hard to design
disagree at
around.
all. I
Yeah,
actually I'm more of a like I mean I enjoy
I
the arena fights a lot, but
mhm,
I've always felt like that was a big divide between New Doom and Old Doom, because Old Doom
exactly.
was very much about just,
The whole level's the arena.
yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
room in the Doom Hunter base, which I thought they were gonna do more of this, where
Mm.
there's like you move into like a room and the door shuts behind you and you're literally in like this tiny closet and then it
Yeah.
spawns
Yeah.
like a Hell Knight right in there.
Oh
And it's
god,
like I
Yeah,
now
I
have to
was-
Oh
fight a
yeah.
I was
Hell
thinking
Knight
about this as
in
you
like
guys were
a
talking.
5-foot
Yeah.
space.
I hated
And
that. Yeah.
I was
Oh,
kind
I
of
love
hoping
that.
for
A
more
couple
of
of
that.
lives.
I love that
There's
stuff.
See,
there's a
that's
couple
one of the
small.
big things that
Yeah,
improved,
go ahead.
in my opinion, from 2016 is that like that spatial tack, because like older FPSs, you almost always had limited. I mean, okay, maybe not in as much in Doom 2, but most of them you had very limited space to fight in, and the combat was as much about managing that space tactically as it was about circle strafing or being shooting quickly. And the parts where in Eternal where you have that, where you have this small limited space to manage and you have to fight enemies, I thought were awesome. I thought those were really fun.
Yeah, I think the biggest enemy in Doom Eternal is the amount of space. Like, if you've
Yeah.
got a big open arena, I'm never gonna die, especially with the the runes that I have to
Mhm.
get the speed boost after thing. If you put me in a small space, or I'm fucked. Like the small spaces are the Doomslayer's worst enemy, I think, in Eternal.
There were a couple of Slayer gates, I think, that had really cramped
Yeah,
space compared to
yeah,
other
and
arenas,
I
and
didn't.
they were hard. I
I
mean,
was expecting the player gates to be a
ooh.
lot harder. I,
Mm.
I, I didn't die. I'm also, like I said, playing on Hurt Me Plenty and stuff, but I didn't die once. I think on any of the Slayer gates. I love them. They were a lot of fun. I would like
They're
more of
super
that.
fun.
I would like more of that in the Repertorium, endless mode,
Yes. Endless Repertorium,
endless
please.
Repertorium.
Be great.
Um, but yeah, so I think that's one of the things we can all agree on. But at the same time, the pacing was good. We're nitpicking, right? I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I like the
Oh, the
breaks
pacing's
between.
fantastic, I
I
thought.
like the breaks
Yeah.
between the platforming, and I only, I like the fact you don't take lives away for platforming. I
Yes.
think
Oh,
that
that
would have.
was
That
nice.
that
Very
that's
appreciated.
like a Sekiro thing where like when you fall to your death, you don't die, you just lose a little bit of
Yeah,
health.
which I
It
think
is
would be
not a
that would.
Dark Souls thing, for
Yeah,
sure.
No,
people would 100. People would lose their minds if they died
Oh man, yeah.
from whatchamacallit, if they
Yeah.
had the blasphemous
I,
falling to your death
Be
all the
like
time,
it'd
losing
be
their
like
mind.
having the entire game. Every so often, it teleports you to Zen in Half Life for like
Yeah.
5 minutes. That's what it would be like.
Oh my
it's
god.
like, so I remember when we did that, we had that implemented. I actually worked on part of that, like the when you fall, how it knows where to teleport you to. I
Okay.
actually
Uh-huh.
took a pass at that, and I remember being like, we were working on it, and I got to give like kudos to our designers, because our designers are amazing at seeing the game from a much higher perspective, and the big picture mode. Um, because like we were working on it, and I'm like, so you're gonna fall and it's just gonna teleport you back up to the beginning? And they're like, yeah. And I remember thinking to myself like, all right, that seems a little weird, but no, I'll do it. And we put that in, and like now there's just wide praise for it, which is awesome to see. Like it builds a lot of trust and confidence in our designers, of course.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think it was good. It was good.
It was good the first time. So you get to these platforming things, and
Stay smart.
you're still learning it.
Yeah.
Originally,
Yeah.
and I've also dodged straight off of an arena multiple times,
Yeah.
and it's like not being
Yeah,
punished for
I've
that
done that too.
feels like you're right back in the action and going, and
It's
not
Yeah.
just like too bad. Reload your save or whatever. If you really mess up, you have no lives
It's
Yeah,
left.
like
So
they're picking you
it's a
up,
good.
brushing you off, and
Yeah,
telling you.
it's one of
and
those
like I
things that
said, it keeps the push forward going. And I think a big tenet
Yeah.
for you guys, a design principle,
slow
is
the game
push
down.
forward, keep
Oh, hell
pushing
yeah.
forward, keep playing the game. And if it was like anytime I actually had to reload a game, which was only against the fucking Marauder, but we'll get to that in a minute. It's especially with the connect to Bethesda bullshit that happens. Like it would take like 10 years for me to get back into the game. So especially with the extra live system, if I had to reload checkpoints and stuff every time, man, I would have gotten frustrated. I was starting to get frustrated with the original Marauder boss fight, and after you face him a few more times, and he becomes pretty inconsequential, other than maybe taking one or two of your lives if you get stuck with him and some other enemies. And his stupid
dog.
stupid fucking dog. If I was gonna redesign the Marauder, I would make it so on Hurt Me Plenty he doesn't have a dog, and then on Ultra Violence he does have a dog, and then
I
on
love his dog.
What? I love all dogs except that fucking dog.
Dylan, you're a master.
The one dog Dave doesn't like.
Yeah, the one dog Dave doesn't like. He's a bad boy. He's bad. And then I tune it up so on Nightmare he has 2 dogs and 2 axes.
boy.
He just goes.
I was joking that he should fire Lost Souls when he
Oh
uses
my
his axe.
god! I wouldn't mind
And
that
not
so much.
not Doom Eternal Lost Souls either. Doom 64 Lost Souls.
Oh
Yeah.
no!
The Doom 64 Lost Souls are pushovers. But yeah, so that was one of the things.
Well,
So
how far have you played, Dave?
They are not pushovers at
uh,
all.
I'm like level 9. It's been a while.
Okay.
I would say so. So yeah, I think so that we talk about. I think the pacing was great, but I would like some more of that. The difficulty spikes or lack thereof. I got to some fights at the end of things, and I was like, "That's it. That's the fight." What? I was expecting shit to be crazy. So I'd find not only spikes in difficulty with stuff like the Marauder, but then like anti spikes. I was like, oh, especially
That's
like
odd. I didn't find any of those. I wonder does Mark, do you know and can you tell if like the number of enemies and the kinds of enemies changes based on difficulty?
Negative. I don't think so.
Yeah,
No,
it
the
doesn't.
number
Just
of
that
enemies,
they're just
no,
harder.
just the way they behave. Yeah.
So they're just
Interesting. Okay.
what do they have? More health and stuff? And yeah, I know they
No,
have more
it's like,
health.
it's like so they have different kinds of attacks. They have like their heavy attacks and then their fast attacks,
Uh-huh.
and also like I know that there's actually a really great talk that our AI programmers did at GDC. If it wasn't last year, it was the year before. But where they talked about the AI in 2016, and like there's so much going on behind the scenes. Like I didn't work on it like personally, so I don't know for sure, and I can't say for sure, so I struggle to be specific. But I know that they have tons of knobs to tune for stuff like that, like how many enemies engage you at once. Whether enemies are like how many of certain types come after you. I know in 2016 we had 2 modes for the Baron, so there was like a ranged mode, and then where he would throw the green goo at you, and then the close in mode where he would like rush in and attack you. And whenever
The
you were
instant teleport mode where
yeah.
God.
So like, yeah, sorry, kid. Like, but
Nothing personal.
nothing personal. But so when you were fighting 2 barons, we had systems in the background that would be like, all right, we don't want both of them in your face at once, so we would have one switch to ranged mode and one be that fast attack mode.
Oh, this
And it
is
was
the
like-
token system, right? Where
Yeah, yeah,
the
and
player would have like tokens, and the enemies would take them off the player.
Yes, yeah, and that's sort of almost like a queuing system, and
Ah.
and I know that that's stuff that they had in 20 or in Eternal as well. So I couldn't even begin to list like the amount of tuning that goes into difficulty mode stuff. There is like your standard damage and health boosts. In fact,
Yeah.
I don't even think there is much of a health boost. Like I think
Really?
it's output and then attack, like damage for sure, and then the output and number of demons that can engage you at once.
Huh.
I'm pretty sure
I'm
it's
playing
something.
on Nightmare now, and it definitely, like, even from Ultraviolent, it definitely feels much. The enemies feel like they're on me much quicker, and
Yeah.
much better at following me.
I know that there was even talk about tuning like accuracy of their projectiles as well and stuff like
Wow.
that based on difficulty.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
meanwhile, in our
it's
games, it's just like,
insane.
enemy have more health, enemy do more
No,
damage.
not more health. Never more
Enemy,
health.
yeah, enemy go
I'm-
faster.
I'm
Gloomwood
completely
actually
against
has
health changes for difficulty in
Yeah.
Gloomwood
retro.
actually has
I
a lot
agree
of
with
different
that.
things that changes.
A medieval
Yeah,
has a
Gloomwood
ton.
has a
A medieval has fucking pickups, amount of enemies, enemy hell. Jesus, Leon, for all the levels, it's different. It's crazy.
I think in Cerro Miedo, in Dust,
Zero
you
miedo.
should the Wendigos should never turn visible. Like you should have to just kill them and then
Oh,
and watch.
actually, I love that idea. That
Yeah.
Fully invisible mode.
Patching coming.
time
Yeah.
for a patch.
That'd be sick.
But yeah. So
But-
I mean, that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's interesting that because I don't think I ever experienced any lack of difficulty spikes, or at least that I noticed. Like
Yeah.
to me, it felt like there.
Well, you played on you played on ultraviolence all the way through, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm hurt
Yeah.
me plenty, so it might just be like I think as I got the thing. It's so funny because I started on ultraviolence and turned it down to hurt me plenty, and then thought about turning it back up to UV, but didn't. So that might have been the thing. Maybe I was just playing on HMP when I should have been playing on ultraviolence. But I think I'm just gonna
Could be.
second
Or you
playthrough.
just figured stuff out. Like you just
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I
think-
definitely, I guess I did notice there were some points where, like, there'd be a difficulty spike and then the game would go down for a little while, which I thought was really good because you don't want it necessarily to just spike and stay up there because then it
Yeah.
becomes like a
It becomes
endurance
exhausting.
test.
Really.
Yeah, and I was really worried. I was gonna say after because the Marauder, I think myself and a lot of people found it is a huge spike. No,
Mhm.
absolutely, like there's no
For sure.
denying. There's no denying. It's like what? And I think you guys, designed it that way. And I was worried that after that, oh shit, this is gonna be a thing now. The rest of the game's gonna be like this, and then it wasn't. And I was like, I was almost like I didn't want to go back. I did because I stopped after that. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to keep playing if the rest of the game's going to be like this. And then it wasn't. And then you only introduce Marauders basically. So you fight them, one at a time, or you can kill the other enemies around them and get them to a one at a time. They were placed sporadically. They're not all just in there all the fucking
I think
time.
a bunch were in.
Yeah.
I think a bunch were in Slayer gates as well, but not in like the main arenas. Like you had to go out of your way to run into them.
Yeah, you have to, and you can.
More.
And you could still get away, and I don't know how anybody plays without the speed boost after Glory Kill fucking Rune. Like I would that's how I get out of everything, just dash away. But we can talk about him now.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think when I first got to him, I was cursing and screaming, saying "fuck this, fuck you, this is so how could what the fuck." I was retweeting all the Marauder memes. And the Marauder memes are still great.
They're great, yeah.
And it does feel like
hilarious.
he was pulled from a different game. It feels like he was pulled out of Sekiro and stuff. And I think obviously, Hugo's a huge fan of those games. It was a big inspiration for this. But did you guys really want this to be the fuck you? This is a fuck you moment. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Oh
Good.
no, definitely not. Like I'm certain that it was just like anytime we introduce a new enemy, like there's like there's a learning curve where you're figuring them out, and the curve's definitely a bit steeper on the Marauder. Like because once again, like I wasn't involved in the design on the Marauder, but like when I fought him for the first time, I died a ton of times.
Yeah,
and but I was he's such a cool enemy, and I was so determined to figure him out.
Especially because I think it was because I was at that point I was ready to turn the difficulty up because that was on. He's at the end of what UAC
Arc
Mars
Complex.
base. Arc Complex, and I was just those fights. I was having fun. I was so into it by that point. I was just fucking everybody up. I was like, all right, this is getting easy now. I'm gonna turn it back up. I've got enough stuff unlocked. I know which mods I like. This game, and then this motherfucker comes out of a portal.
Marauders there to remind you
Sit
what.
back down, Dave.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Well, like one of the things we do, which is I haven't seen this brought up anywhere, but when an enemy kills you, but I know we do this because I worked on this system. When an enemy kills you, the next loading screen tip you get is sort of a tip on how to beat that enemy.
Yeah,
And
I did.
Twitter
I did notice that.
I knew how to beat him. It told me how to beat him. It's like wait till his eyes flash green, but it wasn't working. And then the dog.
I
found
had someone on
the
Twitter
window
who was
very
complaining about the tutorials being like, well, it would have been far more sophisticated
Oh, man.
design if they just had the tip come up after you'd been beaten by the enemy. I'm like, they do. You
Yeah.
turn the
Yeah.
tutorial
yeah,
off,
every
you could-
loading screen
does
reminds
that.
you of what killed you. It's like, hey, remember how to beat a Kaku
Yeah.
demon? I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
I remember. I just fucked up.
I'm just bad, okay?
I'm just bad.
We should have played it
Yeah.
again in slow motion from the demon's perspective, just him beating your face in.
Yeah. They have a kill cam, demon
Like the
kill
kill
cams.
cam, demon kill
Please
cam.
put
yeah.
that in the
like
next one.
Oh my
undying.
god.
You can have undying death animations.
Oh.
I
It's
think
really it's funny though, because like I think I was the last one out of this group to make it to the Marauder, and everyone
Yeah,
was like,
you
"Oh no,
were.
Dylan, wait until the Marauder. You have
Yeah.
no idea what's coming up ahead."
And we
And
forgot
because
that you
I
were
played-
a Soulsborne veteran.
I've played so much Bloodborne and Sekiro that like he came up and he's like, Slayer, and then I just like blasted him in like 30 seconds, and I was like, "That's it? Like, what happened?"
That's absolutely that's
that's funny.
insane, man. I was like sweating. I died like
Yeah.
6 times, I think.
Yeah,
I
he
died
took
a
all
bunch
my
also,
he took
yeah.
all my 1-ups. I had to reload. I was like, I'm using the super shotgun. I'm staggering him. I'm shooting him twice at a time. But then I'd have to go, and I was trying to, and I would try to go around the arena, obviously, to get the to replenish from the zombies that were there. And that's when the fucking dog would jump up in the ass and get me, and it's like, oh, I gotta let me learn the thing. But
Yeah.
then
I
by
think it was pretty impressive though. He makes you really scramble. Like you're really running
Yeah.
from him,
Yes.
you know?
That's what I
Because
love
he's
about
like
it.
as
Problem.
fast as you are.
But that's the problem.
Yeah.
You can't run from him because if you run from him, that's when he sends the dog out and stuff. So the whole you have to stay.
There was
and
someone who said, "Oh, it's really bad that they introduced him in a room that small," and I was like, "No, it's great because
Yeah.
it teaches you how to toe to toe with him because you're gonna be fighting him in even smaller spaces with even more enemies soon."
Which was funny. Everybody complained about that gore nest where you have to beat him in 30 seconds. And I fucking just ballisted him to death in like 20 seconds. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. People are like, I tried 45 times on that. I'm like, you get a decent amount of space. I mean, and that's another thing, mastering the weapons is so
Yeah.
fucking important. Once you've got the masteries unlocked, it's just like yeet micro missiles everywhere, yeet, heat wave, fucking ballista. The arbalest fucks them up especially because once you've got it mastered, you've got the arbalest, and then you can move faster and shoot two. You could double tap him with the fucking arbalest if you get him, and then he's just like yeeted into the solar sphere.
So just the fact that there's such a dialogue around him, I think makes him a pretty.
I think it's great, and I think it's
Oh,
a
it's a
better
success.
dialogue. I think it's better than the Sekiro dialogue, which is just like game hard, get good. Because there's different ways to approach it, and there's different things you could do for masteries and stuff like that. And then you see guys like you wouldn't see guys like Sunny Legend playing Doom Eternal. That's the guy who is great at doing all those
He's a
videos from shit
monster.
like Sekiro and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely a success. I think the spike was a bit much? Yes, especially because I was on Hurt Me Plenty, and that motherfucker hurt me a lot more than plenty. He hurt me more than plenty, too much plenty.
I'm sorry.
If he
that's-
wasn't so hard, we wouldn't have gotten so many great Marauder memes.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's true.
I think
It's
so.
worth
I
it for
think
the memes.
He's an
it's
internet
worth it.
success.
It's
Oh,
worth
cool.
it for the memes. Other things didn't intro the demons. Did not intro the demons. Well, you did a
that
whole
was
fucking
sometimes
trailer. Did a whole trailer for the Archvile with the big reveal, and then he just shows up and Talbot's right like, "I'm here, I'm on
I
fire,
don't-
hey
I don't think
everybody."
he didn't get a tip, even did he? He just showed
no.
up.
He just
No,
shows
he
up.
just-
I just saw like a bunch of outlines of demons, and I was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah,
I
same.
like that.
Oh,
That was
so I-
everyone's experience.
Yeah, so I actually found out. So they get like when they're teleporting in, they're like frozen in magma or whatever. Kind
Yeah,
of looking thing.
yeah.
I had no idea what was going on ever.
Me either.
I beat the game and then found out what that meant. I was like, oh, it
Yeah.
means the arch
really?
around.
I just knew.
Oh,
I just knew there's an Archvile was doing that. I didn't know what was happening. I just knew Archvile's doing Archvile shit. Go find the Archvile. Zag,
A
you were gonna say
likely
something?
excuse. No, I was.
So yeah,
I'm
you're not a Doom veteran. You don't necessarily know what the fucking Archvile is. What was your experience?
No. So I played. So as you know, I only played Quake 2 growing up. Nothing else. I never played
Really?
Doom.
nothing else.
My
Just
first-
Quake 2 forever.
My first Doom game. Okay, I played some other games. My first Doom game was Doom 3. No joke. I've seen Doom. I knew what Doom was, but I never really played it. I thought it was very linear. Like it's just like cursing in here. Like it was very like flat. Like there's no aiming up and down and stuff. I didn't like it. I had the same issue with older shooters as well. And I'm 1990s born, so obviously I've missed some of the stuff like Dave played when he was a kid. But
Are you
so
older or younger than Doom?
Younger, I think,
man.
right? When did Doom
Wait,
come out?
what?
Doom
When
came
did
out
Doom
in
come out?
90. Doom came out in 93.
Oh, 93. No. So I was 3. So I didn't play it when I was a
Jesus.
kid. I played, yeah.
I was
So
17.
in 93?
I'm kidding.
Oh,
Continue.
Yeah.
I was like, hold on a
That
second.
was doing
How
it after my
fucking
head.
old
Dave-
are you, Dave?
Dave
I'm
is like 53.
So
I'm as
Dave
old
is
as
the alpha
Samuel
and the
H.
omega.
So
Yeah.
but we played different games, and also like I played more RTSs, and I played Unreal Tournament and Quake and all that. I didn't play as much like Doom and some other stuff. But getting in, so Doom 2016 I played it quite a bit, and I got probably halfway through it, and I got kind of bored with it. It didn't quite click with me. I played Eternal, and I was like immediately hooked. Something different about it. It just felt more like a successor to what I thought Doom should be. It was just very like game. It's like, this is a fucking video game. This is so much fun collecting shit,
Yeah.
running around. I got 8 weapons. It was great. And so the Archvile, I didn't know anything about. I didn't know I was afraid to type in chat like, hey guys, I came across the brain spider thing. I had to look up the name first before I mentioned it.
Oh
'Cause I didn't
my
want everyone
god.
I had to
The
open the
brain
codex.
spider.
Shame.
You're gonna have to be more
Shame.
specific. There.
I didn't want you guys thinking, I was I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. But I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was perfect. The tips were like really good for me. Obviously I didn't need a lot of them. Like some were very obvious.
Obviously, I
green
didn't
shit.
need a lot of them.
Follow. No, it's like
Ultimate
it's like
gamer.
Follow the green lights everywhere. The level design is like just guides you through, but it was great. I didn't have to stop and think about much in the game. It was just super enjoyable. And until the Archvile, that was confusing and scary.
Yeah, I think it was really weird, especially because they did a whole trailer about it, and because there's a lot of mechanics going on. To not like have any sort of pop up or cutscene for that felt really like strange, considering the rest of the game literally tells you how to play it, or at least not having him show up and be like, "Fire! I am the guy who's doing this. Come find me." I thought that was really weird, and Titan didn't really get an intro. An intro, the real cyber demon, which I just love the enemy designs coming straight from Doom 2 was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
So good. I love the Titan, and I just love the biggest thing that changed about shooting enemies from 2016 to this is all the chunks that fucking blow off. Oh my god!
man.
And
So
especially the
satisfying.
Titan, by the time you're shooting the Titan, almost done with the Titan, he's just like a skeleton with some meat hanging off of him. It's so cool. I can't even imagine designing
The
that
feedback
system.
for that was just so satisfying. Yeah.
Oh,
just, like,
it's so good
when
when you just
shoot
auto
things, it's
when
so
you auto
impactful.
shotty, going back and playing cheats and just infinite ammo
yeah.
and auto shotty, just ripping chunks off of demons.
Hugo
It's
did
so
that
good.
on purpose in the demo against the Pinky and Super Gore Nest when he just like he's already dead, but Hugo just keeps shooting the auto shotty at his corpse. It's just like
Yeah.
It's so satisfying.
he
It's
goes
so
over the edge
good.
of the cliff, I think.
And I think that's another thing. It really lends itself well, and I love the fact that you guys put cheats in there as actual things, and you can go back and play the levels with the cheats. Because then it's like, if you want that, just run around and shoot whatever the fuck you want experience,
Sure.
it's there for you. But the first time you play the game, it's like you're gonna play the game. We want you to have the experience that we created for you. And I think we did a lot of the same thing with Dusk, where we wanted you to go through it a certain way and experience it a certain way the first time, and then go back and just do whatever the fuck you want. But I like the fact that you have those options there. The mission select is so available. You can go back and do like the gore nest encounters with cheats on and stuff like that. The only thing you can't do is like the Slayer gates, which makes sense. I think it's as open as you want it to be, as long as you want to get through it that first time. And I think playing it the way it's intended the first time is good. I mean, sure, I think there's some spikes. I don't think it's perfect, but I think anybody shrugging it off or saying that it's bad design, I think they are not thinking as critically as they should be about it.
It's really, really heavy missing the forest for the trees. I feel like almost all the complaints I've seen, they're just completely missing it, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah,
especially since a lot of these complaints are coming from people that I feel should know better because they're like developers.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I think a lot of people miss out on like the human touch of it because all of it was crafted lovingly and with really good
absolutely.
intention.
And the fact that you guys just like that, everything is canon. The fucking shitty comic, the shitty books, the shitty games, everything is now it's all canon, and it's great. And people are still finding stuff. Like there was that picture of Doom guy and his fucking family.
Still looking for the
like,
Dusk Easter egg.
Yeah, where's that Dusk Easter egg, Jason? But yeah, and then it was good. I mean, the everything I didn't like was nitpicky. I felt like it made
Yeah.
some of the strategies made demons inconsequential. Like Kako demons are now just lob a thing into its mouth, or stuff like that. And like knowing, but
But it was funny every single time.
it was, and that's the thing. And I think
Yeah.
that was a thing that our Lord and Savior Todd Howard once said, where the thing, if find the thing that you do the most in your game and make sure that thing is fun every time. And what he was talking about when he
Smart.
did that was the cash register noise that it made in Fallout 3 whenever you hit somebody in VATS in the slow mo and critted
Mhm.
somebody. It made that cash register sound. And it was fun every single fucking time. It felt good every single time you heard that.
That's awesome.
And and he was 100% right. And of course he is, because he is God Howard.
Yeah.
And it was, and it's the same thing with Doom Eternal. It never got boring, not
Yeah.
once. Could there be a few more animations? Sure, but like it never got boring. Like the one you do from the behind when you like crawl up his back.
Oh yeah.
And put that one's really fun. There's enough. I mean, the fact that
Yeah.
there's as many as there is at all. But like I
Can we
said,
talk
it
about
never
favorite glory kills?
favorite glory kills. I mean, for me,
Oh, the arm bone.
the
Easily.
arm
Oh, the
bone.
arm bone is so good.
Are we talking
Yeah.
about the arm bone on the slithery bitch or the arm bone
Yeah,
on the?
where you break it and then impale her
put it
eye
through
with
her.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's got to be the cyber demon cutting him down, and then because
Oh,
that's
that's
just
great,
so,
too.
just chopping him down to size.
Yeah.
What
I
about?
love going behind the Arachnotron and just punting him onto his like head.
Yeah.
Dude, so there was a I had an idea for one for a glory kill at one point while we were working on the game, and it was like you my idea was, I was talking to one of the animators at one point about it, and my idea was you would go to punch a Hell Knight and he would catch your fist, and then the blade would just come out of your hand, and I wanted the Hell Knight to like smile as he caught your fist, and then the blade
Yeah.
would come out and just impale him in the face. It's
That
kind of
sounds
like that,
great.
like
What you do to the Marauder the first time?
yeah. So yeah, and like
Oh, so
that was like an
satisfying.
Indiana Jones moment.
He
it's
turned
like-
himself into a pickle. It was the funniest shit I had
That's such a
ever
good video.
seen.
Oh my god!
What do you
dude,
mean
I
it's not
cried.
funny? Oh, it was great.
But it's like
The Doom memes. Oh my god, Doom memes are on the fucking rise. Invest.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good time. But it was sort of like the moment from Raiders of the Lost Ark where like the dude's whipping the sword around and then Indiana Jones.
Oh,
shoots
and he
him.
pulls the pistol out. Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
such a
So,
great
like,
thing. He's just like, yeah,
I-
he's got the machete.
Hell yeah. And I pitched that to the animator and like he thought it was hilarious and he was like, I'm gonna go put that in. And of course, and that was the end of it. That was the last I'd ever heard of it. And I didn't want to be that dude who's like, hey man, you gonna put my glory kill in? I didn't want to like be that I didn't want to annoy him.
There's
So
still
I've never
time.
seen it. Then I was playing against like I told you, I died like 20 times against the Marauder the first time I fought him. But then when I finally got him and he glowed, this is the first time, and it was like around December timeframe, so the studio is kind of winding down for the year, and I was doing a playthrough of the game, and so I went in to do my glory kill of the Marauder, and it was that glory kill where he catches the hand and the blade comes out, and I like, first of all, I was through the moon for having beaten the Marauder for the first time
Yeah.
finally, but then seeing that glory kill in there as well was like icing
So do you
on
think
top.
that
I just
do you
start
think that-
crying. That's just
Yeah,
amazing.
it's
Like,
like-
I'm just gonna, like, oh
I had
my
to go
god.
home. I had
So
to
wait-
go home for the rest of the day. I was like,
So do you think that's your glory kill that they put it on the Marauder, or it's just
Oh,
that
for
was
sure.
our? Oh yeah.
It totally is.
Yeah,
That's
it totally
awesome.
was.
And it's a great moment too, because you think maybe he's gonna like catch your glory kill and stop it. You're like,
Yeah, dude.
fuck, more of this guy, and then
Yeah.
just boom. It's like,
The
Yeah.
blade comes out. It's such an
Wow.
Indiana Jones moment,
it's a
man.
great moment.
Like,
So good.
Yeah.
using guile.
It's a shame they only ever made 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Ah, yeah.
It's a shame they're
Uh,
not making another one right now.
Oh my god! Why'd you have to remind me of that? Now I have to go. Fucking. So yeah, I think, have we exhausted the discussion of Doom Eternal? Should we start?
I mean, we could go
comparing
on
it?
for hours, I'm
We
sure.
could
Sure.
go on for hours, but I think one of the other things we wanted to talk about, because a game that shipped for the first time for a lot of people, and it was a pre-order bonus, is the lost cult classic, the Doom 3 that we always had but never knew we had, in a very snazzy port of Doom EX, which is now just Doom 64, available
Yeah.
for a lot of people for the first time.
Yep.
And I think a
Well,
lot of
it's the
people are
first
playing.
official release of it on PC. We
Yeah,
had,
it is. It's we've had
Absolution
it's
and EX before, but
yeah.
those were unofficial. And now the same guy who worked on
Kaiser
those,
Kaiser
yeah,
from Night
Kaiser
Dive.
from Night
May
Dive,
he remain blessed.
yes,
So yeah,
he
and
has
it's
done a official port of it, and it's great.
yeah, and it's great. It's on consoles as well. I mean,
The way it
I
was
had a
always
tweet.
intended,
Oh my
right?
god, I can't.
Oof.
I had a tweet yesterday. Anybody who beat Doom 64 as a child with an N64 controller deserves a Nobel Prize as an adult. I can't even get through shit on PC. They're like you have to diagonal strafe. I'm like, I have to what now? And this
It's
is
it's
and this is critical path.
this is
Yeah,
it's so brutal. I'm playing on
Critical
like
Path in Doom
I
64 is like a mega secret in any other Doom game.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I'm playing on I own Doom and I'm still like, how did anyone play this game on
I
an
can't imagine.
N64
Yeah.
controller?
And I mean, the things I really appreciate about Doom 64 are obviously the atmosphere is incredible. It reminds me a lot of PlayStation Doom, and that was all. Aubrey did the soundtrack for both, right?
It's the same soundtrack, I believe.
I don't. Is
Um,
it for the
I'm
PlayStation
not.
Doom?
That's what I've never actually played PSX Doom,
PSX
but I've
Doom
been
is one of my
told it's the
favorite
same.
ports because it's so creepy and disturbing and uses a lot of PlayStation type technology to get all these crazy lighting and effects and stuff. It's just
Yeah, I've
spooky.
been told it's the same music and sounds, and I'm not sure whether those were done for PSX Doom or for Doom 64. I can't imagine
Yeah, so
like the music in Doom 64 not being done for Doom
yeah,
64. It
it's
just fits so perfectly.
it's Aubrey. I know Aubrey did it, so it's like he did
Uh-huh.
Final Doom and Doom PlayStation, Doom 64. I'm not sure if it's the same soundtrack, but it might be. Anyway, but it was so Aubrey's soundtrack is obviously very different to
Yes.
Bobby's
Could
stuff.
not be more
Bob,
different.
well, Bobby, as we know, was just riffing on old metal songs at the time. Anthrax, Metallica, shit like that. And it was just it was old metal riffs turned into MIDI songs. Aubrey's is just fucking. Somebody had
Just a
that tweet. Yeah,
madhouse.
yeah, and someone had that tweet the other day with like Doom 64 soundtrack be like it's just the skin and bones falling off of a skull and just bleeding. Just like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's very rats for breakfast, as they say, which they don't
Well,
say.
honestly,
They don't say
I'm
yet.
yeah. I mean, honestly, the second half of that game, the music is like super, super Doom
It's
64 like
Yeah,
influenced.
and
So
David. It's funny because I haven't played it in a while, and I didn't realize just how much dusk is in Doom 64. The textures and the lighting and
yeah,
everything. I'm like, this motherfucking looks like a dusk level, and David's like, yeah, actually, I pulled a lot from Doom
I
64.
straight up drew some Doom 64 textures for Dusk.
Yeah, and
Like,
I don't think we discussed Doom 64 once during development, which is wild. Now that I'm playing it again, just the things they do with the colored lighting, the level changes, and the scripting and the macros, and just like the stuff that was just non-existent in Doom 1 and 2 is just so cool
It's
to see.
so good.
So
And
I played Doom 64 the port the other day because
Mhm.
I got it, so why not?
Yeah, well, we've been playing
first
it. Yeah.
time first time playing like an older Doom title, and I also watched you play a
Oh,
bunch, Dave.
oh
On your
no.
stream.
oh boy.
Well, so yeah. I played a few levels. It's good. But one thing I was
It's
actually really surprised with, I was like, I thought this game had like shitty graphics, like, but actually the colored lighting and stuff,
Oh,
I didn't know
it's great.
I didn't know the engine was capable of all that stuff. It's actually a
No.
very pretty game.
Yeah.
It is,
And
yeah.
I can definitely see the the inspiration to
Yeah.
Dusk.
Yeah, and I mean, Zach, if you want it more like the traditional Doom experience of Doom 1 and 2 is a lot more like Eternal and it's 20. It's just running around shooting shit. It's not platforming and secrets and fucking platforming and puzzles and time doors and all that
I
shit.
honestly didn't mind it. It felt
Oh
fine.
no, it's
It gets really evil later on though. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the traps are
mm.
just like
it's super.
the people who
evil.
made this are so evil at heart.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
funny because it's such a departure, and it wasn't it. I think it was Midway that did it.
Yeah, it was Midway.
May they rest in peace. And it's very, and I kept comparing it. It's like Dusk and Sigil had this evil fucking child
Yeah, that's
um,
pretty accurate
of
actually.
just puzzles combined with really cool atmosphere,
Yeah.
and enemies.
It's honestly, it's like, okay, so we've got Doom 3, but
Mhm.
I honestly think that Doom 64 is maybe even more of a horror game and scarier than Doom
Yeah.
3.
Yeah,
Even like on this, I mean, it's more actiony. It's more like a traditional Doom game, but it's just that like the madness and like sinister atmosphere of the whole thing. Like the
Mhm.
game, it feels like the game is out to kill you, and you've got this horrifying soundtrack playing, and you've got these visuals that are super abstract and dark and gloomy and weird and just all of
Gloomy.
that gloomy.
Gloom.
All of that in
Gonna kill
combination
us.
just makes it this like even playing it now, like it's still a fairly unsettling experience if you play Doom 64 in like a dark room.
It's
You know,
very unsettling,
quick.
or if you're streaming it with people telling you how to beat the fucking levels and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Dave can't do the platforming."
It
Shut up.
does feel
I
Trying
love
trying my best.
Oh, did your stream not go so well?
It was, I quit. I quit, and I played Gloomwood instead.
Didn't get any subs.
Yeah. Actually,
it
we had
feels
like
a
80
lot like
people
an in
watching.
between
That was
between
cool,
like
yeah.
Doom and Quake.
Yeah, it is, and I think it's. I'm glad that it exists. I'm glad that it's getting the love I think it deserves now, because I think
Yeah.
me, myself, and a lot of people included just thought it was a port of Doom because they
Mhm.
called it Doom 64. So I just thought
Yeah.
it was Doom on the N64. I had no idea it was a completely different game
Yeah,
as a kid.
it sort of got the short end of the stick in that regard.
For sure, and that's so much. I can't imagine playing. You know, it didn't have
Yeah,
saves.
and also
it,
in the
it had
regard
a
that like
it had a password system like an old
Yeah.
Nintendo game.
That's like a keygen code. Like it's complete like
Oh,
It
it's
yeah.
also
so
does
long,
something that
long-
none of the other Doom games do, which is it hides these like items in the secret levels to unlock a new weapon.
yeah.
Like
So that's
Yeah.
so
that's crazy.
the Unmaker, which shows up again in Doom Eternal. It's they pulled so much from Doom 64, and Doom 64 is now canonically leads in to fucking Doom Eternal. If you
Which is
the
the
big
best.
Amazing.
the big
Yes.
reveal, with the new episode and stuff, how Doom guy is just basically insane. Is from playing all these Doom games and just shows up in heaven like, "Rah!" and
Yeah.
then, which is great. I mean, it's just so
It's
funny. It's
great.
like the fact that they managed to make a fun, a fun story out of that.
Okay,
It's
Can
it's
we
just
talk for a second about how amazing the premise for the new levels is? Where it's like you've gotten so annoying in hell that they decide the worst punishment for you is to banish you from hell, and
yeah,
you're just trying to fight back into hell. That
yeah.
is the best premise ever.
It's very dumb. I think that's the best
Yeah.
thing. And I was talking to Aaron yesterday. And we were talking about how dumb the Doom lore is, and I'm like, all nerdy shit is dumb. And he's like, talking about this out loud. I feel like I'm an idiot. I'm like, you want to talk about Warcraft lore? You want to talk about these motherfuckers coming through a portal and they taking this planet? And then wait, no, these hooved motherfuckers crashed from a spaceship from their planet, and then they're there, and then the Draenei is like, it's just as dumb. Everything is stupid. Did you try talking about the Avengers and Spider-Man in a crowded place? It's all stupid. Everything is stupid. That's why it's
Yeah.
fun. Nerdy shit
Doom
is
lore
just
is
dumb.
great.
Doom lore.
Like
I like.
people complaining about Eternal lore being like, or Eternal being like silly and dumb, and like you do remember that like in original canon Doom lore, the entire catalyst for like most of the games is that Doom guy's pet rabbit was killed.
Yeah,
That's not
and-
even a fan
yeah.
theory. That's literally canon.
Yeah, and it's just I love the fact that we have Doom lore now, and I've been reading all the theories about what's going on with Hayden and Vega and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh, I like this. I can't wait for the DLCs that bridges this. I'm like, I want to know what happens next, and it's the same thing. If you just have to give the player enough to want to know what happens next, and that's I think one of the things we did really well with Dusk is we don't give you that much story, and then to see what's come out of that with how much people love Jacob and Nyarlathotep and fucking even Big John and stuff like that, just giving people enough fun dumb shit to get to the next level to know what's happening next is really all you need. And if you go all in with that, and just the fact that they made like the fact that they went, well, what are we gonna make canon from the old games? And they literally was like everything is canon. They found a way to make everything, and I love
Except
the fact
is Doom 3
Except-
canon or no?
I don't think so, except
It's
Doom 3.
unclear. I really like the theory of Doom 3 being a literal like the first game, like it's literally a
before
prequel
Doom
to
1?
Doom 1.
Yeah,
I like that
makes-
theory.
that
I'm
makes
not
yeah.
sense. That makes
Well,
sense.
I also
yeah.
liked. Well, I liked
This-
Petruger a
yeah.
lot as an antagonist. He obviously felt very similar to Olivia. I think what was it, Resurrection of Evil? I think that I remember liking that.
Can we spend
I
some
love
time
Doom
talking
3.
about how Doom 3 is actually
Fucking love
good?
Doom
and
3.
I mean, this
gets
is the Doom.
underrated
This is
all
the
the
Doom
time?
podcast,
yeah.
and I think Doom 3 has, and I think the modding community, which we have to thank for literally everything, who has kept all these games alive, and then the re-releases and stuff. The fact that Doom 3 is finally getting the love it deserves, not BFG edition, and Doom 64. But at the same time, BFG edition brought it back into the spotlight. It brought it into
that's
VR,
true,
and
yeah.
it got people talking about it again. They're like, people were like, actually, the flashlight was good, and people were like, what? And then the
It
same
was
with
good.
Doom,
I will die on this hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will die on that hill too.
Same.
Where's the hill? And
be on the
then the same thing with Doom
You
64.
can't see it because you don't have your flashlight out. You can't see it.
the fall broke your flashlight.
The fall broke you.
Yeah.
I think the same thing with Doom 64, making it a part of the conversation again, then getting modders in there to do all this stuff, and then Kaiser, bless his soul, making it so everybody could play Doom 64. Doom 3, I think, is starting to be appreciated again for what it was, which
For
was
the
a
weird,
which was
quirky,
like like more of
that it was,
a
yeah.
survival. It was more of a spooky survival horror game. There were people at it at the time who wanted to make a more of a horror game. I think Tim was pretty instrumental in that. That's what they wanted Doom to be.
Yeah. But then
Which
it's also an action game at the same time. It's weird,
yeah,
but it
and I think
worked.
I think you saw what Carmack was doing with every iteration of Doom since Doom 2, when now that Romero wasn't there and stuff again, was making it more, if you look at, the Doom 64 tech, or you look at the PlayStation Doom tech, or the fucking Jaguar stuff, and then into Doom 3, it was just like, we need to do more stuff with lighting, more stuff with color, more spooky this, more spooky that, just engine stuff, like cool stuff, because I think cool engine stuff took away from fast-paced action and was like, well, we need dynamic lighting, and you can't have that if it's fast-paced action. It has to be spooky and slow so we can show off
And
the
dark,
lighting.
yeah.
So I think all the because that was that weird time where it became like engine place. So we were just Carmack working on engine stuff, and it was just kind of making games to like go along with that. And Mark was like 7 at the time.
I was like, no, I was actually an edgy when Doom 3 came out,
yeah.
so
Mark
I
in his
fucking loved
Jenko
that game.
jeans and his Airwalks and
Oh, yeah.
his chain wallet and his spiky hair. I was there. His
Yep,
Billabong
it
shirt.
was the early 2000s, man.
Oh my god, it was
How we
terrible.
rolled.
The 90s. How did we go from the 90s, which was so actually the 90s was awful too. People in like fucking neon
Because Kurt
jumpsuit.
Cobain died.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Kurt
Kurt
Cobain died and everything. Yeah, that just shifted the paradigm.
Put us in the darkest timeline.
It did.
Yep. And then Slipknot came out. And we lost Dimebag.
Oh man, Dimebag and Vinny now. Everybody's dying.
I know.
Oh, also, and we Fabio just noticed that whatchamacallit, King, who's the king in Doom Eternal? What's his name?
Oh, King
Novak. King Novak is literally Lemmy. He's got Lemmy's moles and everything. You sons of bitches, because there's that Easter egg where
Lemmy.
the UAC lady, if you come back, she goes, Lemmy is God, which is obviously a nod to Airheads, one of another cult classic movie. If you've never seen Airheads, go watch Airheads, the movie where Brendan Fraser, Adam Sandler, and Steve Buscemi break into a radio station to get their demo played on the air. So at the very end of the movie, they can have a concert where they play a fucking Reagan youth song of all things. Great movie, but they have that one thing where it's like, who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God? And the guy goes, Lemmy, and he goes, God, no. And he's like, trick question, Lemmy is God. And then to see that you actually made King Novak modeled after Lemmy. He's got Lemmy's mutton chops and Lemmy's moles, which is, that's the big identifier. Lemmy had those 2 moles on his face. I thought that was pretty cool. Of course you guys did that. Of course you did.
The game is heavy metal, like in video game form.
Yeah. It's cool. You should have had Halford voice Hayden or something.
Man.
You just scream, ha ha! But anyway, Doom 3 is okay.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah,
it's
I
not
like it a lot.
the best Doom game.
I think what David has a very good take, which is there have been no bad mainline Doom games.
There haven't been any. They're all good to great to masterpieces.
Yeah, and people will say Doom 3, and they'll show that picture of Romero having to sign that copy of Doom 3.
That's a great picture.
He's just making that face, just like, oh, which is great. But I mean, Doom 3, I think in its own right, especially and visually, it still looks so fucking good. You can go back and mod it and play it in ultra wide with fucking mod. It still looks fucking amazing. And that game came out in what, 2003?
Yeah. 2004.
I really like some of the demon designs in Doom 3 too. They're just like they're so not what you'd expect.
I
Yeah.
love the Doom 3 Hell Knight design.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that was the
It's
one on
just-
that was the one on the box. Isn't that isn't
Yeah.
that basically how he looks in Eternal and stuff?
Yeah,
Pretty
pretty
much,
much.
Yeah,
Like,
he's pretty
kinda, yeah.
close. Yeah.
Yeah, the Doom that Hell Knight design has been. I mean, he was the box art. He was Doom 3 was literally just Hell Knight, on the box.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to show that. I don't. Doom 3 Marine is not my favorite. He's just like
No.
even though new Doom guy kind of has got the same look, except his eyes are a bit farther apart.
Well, no, I think they modeled him off of that guy, right? Because like Quake
Isn't he?
Champions definitely did.
So
No,
in
no,
Quake-
they
in
used
Quake
the
Champions,
original.
I was
They
gonna say,
were
'cause
doing the original Doom guy face for
I was
Quake
gonna say in
Champions.
Quake Champions they have a skin form that has a Doom 3 guy. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. It's
Oh,
very
okay.
similar.
Yeah, I don't know. The funny thing is, Quake Champions has like tons of lore in it, but like nobody plays Quake Champions, so nobody reads it, which is a shame. But Doom
Oh,
3.
should we talk about battle mode at all? Has anyone
I
else in here
I
played?
can't. I
So I
can't
played
connect
it.
to I can't connect to
played a few.
Bethesda net, so I have no. I can't play it.
Okay, that's fair. That's
But
okay.
you guys-
That's at
you guys-
least half the experience is not being able to connect.
I mean, I figure the servers are just getting hammered because everybody's home.
Hopefully.
So it's just servers getting hammered. I'll check it out at some point, but like you know me, I'm not a multiplayer guy because I suck.
Yeah,
I'm real
neither
bad.
am I, but I actually find
You're
mode
having fun?
really fun. It's
Are you
really
guys having fun with
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Oh, sometimes.
Well,
Well,
there's- okay, so
about
when you're-
60% of the time I get disconnected at the end of the
60% of the
match.
time,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah,
work.
it's a
every
lot.
time.
it's like I have really different experiences with it. Like sometimes it'll be cool. Like I had one as a Slayer where 2 rounds went really well, and then they just trashed me on the 3rd round. I've had some where I couldn't even move hardly, like I was getting stun locked by like God knows what. And then I played some with the monster, and I just couldn't hit the Slayer. I mean, it's been very all over the place for me.
Oh,
The guy
I
moves
love playing
fast,
as the
for
demons.
one. Like it was very quickly.
You saw.
you
the
just have to
demons.
lead your shots.
I'm-
I mean, it's
I'm
actually
still-
very arena shooter in that regard, playing as
No.
the demons, because you have to lead your projectiles a bunch.
I'm still kind of hoping for maybe just Slayer v Slayer deathmatch.
I
But
think everyone kind
Mm,
of wants
think-
that. Just
Yeah.
for-
maybe
yeah.
maybe with 1 dash each. I don't know. He's
I mean,
very
personally,
mobile.
I would still probably play battle mode instead. I actually find it
so.
way more fun than deathmatch shooters. But I know that most people are like, "Can we just have a deathmatch mode,
Yeah.
please?"
I liked Doom 2016 multiplayer.
I never
thought
played
was-
it. I heard
I
it was
thought
like
it-
Halo.
Very Halo.
It was.
super
I liked
I mean,
it a
Halo's
lot.
fun. So.
I had a bunch of fun with it. I got all the
Yeah.
achievements. I liked the one with the moving objective. I liked that mode where it was like
Yeah, that's
domination,
awesome.
but the objective's moving around the map the whole time, literally. I thought that was a lot of fun. I thought the mechanics felt great. I liked it a lot. I thought it was great. I don't like the fact that it got shit on so much. Like I liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun. Listen, maybe it wasn't what people wanted, but for what it was, I thought it was really good and really solid. And
You know,
I think it's a shame that it got shat on so much.
Speaking of Halo, I have something I want to bounce off of.
This is not
the
the
people
Halo
here who
cast.
played- No. This has to do with Doom. I want to know if you think I'm crazy for saying that in some ways Doom Eternal feels like Halo combat on speed.
I don't know if I think it's I think it's definitely similar. They got a lot of the man cannons, like the jump jets, all that stuff.
Well, I'm thinking in terms of how you
uh,
have a set of abilities, only one of which is shooting, and the combat focuses around you balancing all of those in
yeah, but I
sequence.
definitely don't use like grenades and stuff as much as I would in Halo. So I'm not. I guess Doom
Well, it's
combat
not-
doesn't feel the same to me
I don't
as
mean
Halo. It's-
like specifically with the abilities you have, just the fact that like you're fighting an assortment of enemies with discrete behaviors.
oh yeah,
and
definitely.
You have
yeah.
a tool set.
Yeah,
that
I think Halo very much had the chess thing going on with it, with the elites and the grunts
Yeah,
and the jackals.
it's just
and,
way
and this
slower
is-
than
yeah, this is definitely way faster. I will say that the Slayer does some really Master Chief shit in this, like firing himself out of a cannon, and that's something Master Chief would probably do. Like he does it all the time. Jumps out of like orbital ships and stuff without a parachute.
I
I'm
think
sure I will
the-
experience that when later games come to Master Chief Collection, so I can play them on PC.
Yes,
that always
yes.
should have been.
There's a. Can I spoil a part of Halo? It's been many years. David, do you want me
Which
to?
Halo?
Halo
don't-
2. Halo 2.
I mean, I haven't played it, but sure.
All right. Well, okay. So long story short. I mean, it's not gonna spoil anything. He jumps out of a ship with a bomb, like a Covenant leave a bomb. on
Okay,
the
I
ship,
do know that.
and he
yeah.
literally just opens up the airlock and rides the bomb out the door.
So he
to
does
plant it on the ship.
the fucking Kubrick thing.
No,
kind
not
of.
exactly.
It's not as comedic.
it's not
It's
really,
more
like-
badass.
Yeah.
But it's very much like something I could see the Slayer doing at this point. Is he's just doing stuff like that where he's got a mission and he's just gonna go do it because he's basically invincible with his suit and his abilities, and so it was definitely the most Master Chief ass shit that I could see Slayer doing. You know.
Yeah.
I was very excited about those cutscenes. They were very fun.
They were, yeah. Everything that happens in Mars Core is the best.
I think that
yeah.
the
Go ahead.
big difference between like Halo combat versus like Doom Eternal combat for me is that in Halo to like regenerate you have to kind of retreat and pull back, like get behind cover, wait until your shields come back. Eternal really wants you to attack people to use your flame belch and use the chainsaw, and there's a different dichotomy between I need to get back into the fray or I'm going to lose from attrition versus like Halo, I have to pull back, wait a moment, and then approach again.
Yeah, I will say like Halo was the most fun to me because I played Halo, and it's funny that we talked about the difficulty levels earlier because I played Halo not on Legendary, a few steps below Legendary, and it was like I had the most fun with Halo when it was more like Doom, when I was playing it more like Doom or Doom Eternal, where I was using my movement and like headshotting a grunt and then sorting an elite and then switching weapons. I had them like.
I agree.
So I can definitely see where people can draw similarities between them.
I think both games are kind of a dance around the enemies. You're kind of dancing around the arena, like in certain ways, and Halo's more defensive, as Dylan said, and it's also Doom's more aggressive. You go in to replenish stuff.
And to be fair, also,
that's probably where they differ the most. But actually, David, I'm starting to kind of see what you're talking about. Yeah, actually, I think you're right. I think that's an interesting thing to point out.
And to be fair, Halo you can actually in combat design draw some parallels between Halo and original Doom also, especially in terms of the how enemies have sort of distinct roles rather than just being what is the term for that? It's I forget
boring?
the term.
No, it's enemy differentiation, something like that.
No, it's
CBT.
Harvey Smith. No, it's a Harvey Smith term. It's like non-orthogonal, maybe?
You have a single fact to back that up.
I don't know. Basically, it's just that enemies are not there. Each enemy is a distinct type that has distinct strategies you employ.
Yeah, I mean, I think the chess analogy is really strong, both for Eternal and Halo.
I mean, was that?
I felt I felt every arena I got to, I had to I was like, okay, oh shit, a Cacodemon just showed up. I now need to think about my next like 3 steps, right? Like, what am I going to do? Okay, I need to dodge this way. I need to switch to this weapon. I need to aim at him, shoot him, and then I need to still worry about that Hell Knight that's chasing me around. It was super. My brain was like going crazy during those fights, but it was so much fun.
Yeah, same.
I mean, I was just like working overtime, like trying to remember every enemy in the arena and how I'm going to deal with each one in succession. And sometimes an opportunity would show up you didn't expect, and it's great, just great.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, Mark, do you did they say like combat chess? Yeah,
that was brought up as far back as 2016. Like
really?
we saw people throwing around combat chess as
that was checkers. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, genuinely,
it was checkers, and then you get indicted, then you yeet the board. No, we're playing chess, motherfucker.
That's one of the things I told him because there was a point where I was I may not have been the first person to say it, but I remember thinking it was my idea when I said that like after playing Eternal, which was truly combat chess, like Doom Eternal or Doom 2016 did feel like combat checkers at that point. Like there was definitely an extra dimension to the combat in Eternal.
I agree.
Yeah.
I feel that way with the whole game. I played like half of 2016. I feel like the level design, the encounters, everything was just this is just cranked up to like 11 with Eternal. It was so cool.
Very confident. Like it feels. It
didn't half-ass anything. There's no half measures. You guys went all the fucking way in, and I think you're being rewarded for it. I mean, yeah, sure, there's going to be some dissenters and those people, and there's some people that listen. I got no problem with people, like I said, who like 2016 better. It's still there for them. It's not going anywhere.
Totally.
The original Doom games aren't going anywhere. Doom 3 exists. So if we're going to close this podcast, I would just say that all Doom is good Doom.
Yeah.
I agree.
Good note to close on.
Yeah, so I think that does it for us today. Thank you for listening to the very first episode of the New Blood podcast. I hope you'd enjoyed. I hope you'll stick around if we do more of these. Maybe we'll do more than one every 5 years. Thanks to Zag, Play Unfortunate Spaceman. Thanks to Dylan. Look forward to Gloomwood. Thanks to David. Look forward to more Dusk stuff and Gloomwood and Rats for Breakfast and Maximum Action and everything else David's helping
I work on a lot of stuff, yes.
Yeah. Thanks to Christian for running the soundboard and for being our producer here today, the longest reigning OG member of the New Blood family. When? Holy shit, 2008? Fuck me.
Who knows, yeah.
Jeez.
And then thank you to our very special guest, our friend from id Software, creator of the best glory kill in the whole game, Mark Diaz. Thank you for being here with us, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, that does it for us. We'll see you next time. Rip and tear until it is fucking done.